Hi, everybody. It's Angela here again with, well, not again, but me again with someone new that you haven't met before named Adam Collegian. And Adam found this YouTube channel a while back and contacted me. We've spoken once before, and this is our second meeting. We don't know each other that well, but he's such a cool guy from what I know so far. And he's really kind. He even helped me with some video editing because I'm not the greatest with technology, unfortunately, sometimes. So anyway, Adam, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello. Sure. Yeah, well, that is we were actually just kind of talking before this and trying to figure out how to ease into the conversation because of what you said. Like this is the first time the second time that we've met. I would say, okay, I guess high level Canadian as we were talking to, I'm kind of alluding to like 10, 20 minutes before, but Canadian, living in Berlin, moved here in September, so it's been like 10 months. um, as is the nature. And I've seen, many of your stuff, many of your videos before, as, the polymathic plight. It's like, how do you define yourself? Blah, blah, blah. I do all these things, whatever, whatever. Um, I'm a coder, design, develop apps. That's like day job, day job. And yeah, I mean, that's what I'm doing right now. Basically, that started around COVID, like 2020. I was like, started with a business partner. I was in Canada at the time. He was living in Vancouver. And yeah, I think it was just kind of like, it's kind of a spontaneous decision to move here at all. Like I knew nothing about Berlin. I think I told you this last time. Like I didn't know anything about Berlin, hadn't looked at any videos, photos, didn't know what to expect. I just kind of got prompted by friends, family, like three people. They're like, Adam, you're gonna love it. The electronic music scene's so great, just cafe life. You can live introverted, I lean more introvert, so you can live introvertedly, like in your cave and make music, whatever. And I was just like, oh, that sounds amazing. Um, but didn't think too much of it until I guess the time came. And the time being, I think this was like 2021. No, it was last year. So 2022, that's when I started to get on the road in the sense of, I did this whole kind of loop-de-loop journey through America. I went to Mexico for a bit. My brother was living there like 3 months. And then I went, all in my head, like Berlin's still, kind of in the radar, but I'm not really acting on it because don't know anybody there, don't really want to move. Just, I think I was in between contracts at the time. So I was kind of like disoriented and didn't really have a place to live. But then Barcelona, that was the next place. And then finally, yeah, in Barcelona, I kind of started to just feel this angst. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Like, whatever, I'm sure this is relatable, but like, when the work kind of stops or when things slow down, especially if you're, a workaholic like me, it's like, oh shit, what am I going to do? And then honestly, like the story isn't that much longer. Basically started taking action and like reaching out to my brother, who was one of the people who initially kind of propelled me, got in contact with Guy. Yeah, he just like found me somebody, like a flat that he had looked at that he didn't end up purchasing or going with. And it kind of all happened really quickly, like a few days. I was there, signed the agreement, got in, and yeah, I'm just like living here now. It's kind of weird. And it's weird because like people still like are not mesmerized, but it's a big decision to leave where you've been living your whole. I was born in Toronto, Canada. I've been there my whole life, and I guess to get up and leave is on its face like a huge, bold thing. But it's so funny how quickly a small decision like that, in hindsight, can look so normalized or so just normal, you know? So yeah, I don't know.
So you decided to go on an adventure. And it's so interesting too that you mentioned like multiple people kept mentioning Berlin and like I don't know, whenever something like that happens in my life, I'm a little woo-woo. And so when stuff keeps appearing in my experience and when people keep mentioning something to me, it makes me go, hmm, interesting. Um, So you went to Germany. By the way, do you enjoy it? How is it?
It's like, yeah, I didn't even talk about that. It's one of those things where like it's hard to comment again because you've just been there for so long, but it's just natural to me at this point. But it's not only natural, it's like I can't see myself living in the Western, in the specific flavor of where I grew up, which I would describe metro busier, like Toronto's busier, more metropolitan. People, yeah, just the pace of life is faster, and the pace of life here is so much slower, and people physically walk slower from what I've like seen. There's just more quaint cafe. I don't know if that's the right word. Just quaint cafes. The vibe. It's a lot of it is like it's hard to pinpoint. It's one of those things where you kind of just have to be there and see what it's like. And I was in London like 2 weeks ago, which we chatted about, and that was like just stimulus overload. I knew it's an unfortunate consequence because like the city was beautiful objectively, like the buildings and the culture and obviously museums, whatnot. And I was with family, which was great. But it was just that kind of a city is just overwhelming, I think. I'm just sensitive to it.
Mhm.
So
Berlin is
yeah, so I
great.
guess you've been
I
remind me how many times have you been there?
I've been to Berlin at least twice, in my 20s, so it was a long time ago. But I remember thinking, I could live here. It's a livable city. I loved the architecture. Like Germans can build a building and build a car like nobody's business. Those Germans know how to design and engineer. They do it very well. um, okay, so that's the context. Adam's about 30-ish, right? And
30,
you're
30.
you're 30. You're Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
You've gone on this adventure in
Canadian.
Europe. You're a tech guy. So that's who he
Which
is.
means something, yeah, which means it's funny. Like I wouldn't even call myself a tech guy. You know what I
Okay.
did before this chat? I went on Chat GPT and like I've been meaning to do this for a while because like my LinkedIn's out of date. Instagram is probably a better reflection of like the kind of person I am if you kind of scroll through the posts. But I was like, all right, I'm gonna start brainstorming. I just wanted to brainstorm a title for myself. And I
Mhm.
came to like two that I like. It's work in progresses, but what do you think of this? Okay, if I can remember. It's visual. Well, hold on. What was it? It's like visual. Was it visual architect? No, visual problem solver. That's the first one. There we go.
Mm.
Visual problem solver is the first one. Maybe we can just leave it at that, honestly, because I can't remember the list right now. But that was one of the prompts. That was one of the responses, I should say, to my prompt. I kind of
Mm.
gave a little bit of summary. I'm like, okay, I do this. I do data visualization. That's something I've like I've studied for
Mm.
or worked on for many years, basically since the beginning of my professional career. And data visualization, is synthesizing data in whatever form that is, charts, numbers, Excel spreadsheets, putting them into a cohesive picture and basically presenting it to an audience or several audiences, just demonstrating a story, right?
Mhm.
And I do that kind of thing in the tech sphere, but I think I also, the way I think is very visual and pattern focused, I guess you could say.
Mm.
Like
Hmm.
always trying to think about, okay, like I'm in the 12th grade. I remember this distinctly. Like I was taking Latin, French at the time in my school, and I learned a word, I think, in a Latin class, in one of my Latin classes a week ago. I forget what the word is now. But then, as my French teacher wrote the one of the words on the board, I'm like, oh, so kind of like the Latin for that. And then, obviously, like she was impressed with that, and that's not the point of the story, but only to demonstrate that I think from an early age, I was trying to synthesize, just naturally curious to
Mhm.
synthesize, one thing to another, which, is kind of like Polymath 101, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was my next question for you, Adam, is so you found this YouTube channel But what led you here? Like, how did you find out about polymathy and what's been your journey with it? Like, why does polymathy matter to you?
And it's funny because it matters and it doesn't matter in that the label is something I still don't like. I don't say that label because
Mm-hmm.
I think I've told you it's just, yeah, I just find it inaccessible, I think, for people. I mean, I literally told my friend today on the phone for the first time I used the term. He didn't know what it was. He quickly, I told him what to Google and he found it, and that's fine. Um, but in terms of finding the word in the first place, it was actually it was on a certificate for this art award that I received after I graduated from high school. Yeah, if you remember, um, the Da Vinci Award, excellence in all subjects, which is like, listen, I'm not trying to toot the horn, but it's happening. It's happening.
Just let it out.
That
Just
I'm
it's just the
sorry.
facts. It's just the facts. You got an award, the Da
It's
Vinci Award.
just the facts. The greatest achievement in all of human, no, all of human history. No, it was great at the time. And I was like, at first I was like, oh crap, the art award. That's what it was. That was the label. The art award. Great. Not the science award, because I valued all the other stuff. I'm like, the art award? But then the subtext, which I told the story wrong, but the subtext was Leonardo da Vinci Award. What did he do? He, what did he do? He drew, he was fit, he scribbled. Like, didn't he create crazy inventions, like helicopter inventions in his diary, his notebooks that we have? And yeah, I'm sure you know way more than I do about it. Just like the list of curiosities for the day, and you read them and you're like, whoa, holy cow, this guy.
Yeah, he
And
did a lot.
that he did so much. And so, I mean, that's when I first discovered the word. The most recent like new discovery of that word was basically during that journey that led me to Berlin. I was in San Diego at the time, and I just found this Discord channel called Polymathic Potential. So like, I'm supposed to shout them out right now, but I told them that like, I'll share this after with them. But yeah, found them and just found a community of people. Again, I'm not so in that community right now, but there's a few members on there that really like just synthesized a lot of stuff, synthesized a lot of what I was already feeling, just validated it in the conversations we had on audio. Like I was able to just relate to stuff that they were talking about under the polymathic umbrella, which further solidified my belief that I can view myself in that kind of a way. And then to try, this is the long-winded answer, but like to bring it to the current day, I found you just because I was on YouTube and sometimes I get bored and I'm like, oh, like I should be researching more about the things that I really care about, or prompting the internet to tell me things about topics I really care about, because I get into wormholes sometimes and it's a waste of time. It's not good. Then, but then I was like, polymath, how to be what, something like that. I forget. And then your video was like near the top, and then I watched it. I think it was the introduction video, just you explaining the plights, and it was so, again, it just spoke to me because it was exactly, you just said all the things that just lined up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the identity. I'm like, okay, this is, and then from there, the next video, and then I just shot you an email, I think.
Yeah. By the way, thank you for sharing all that. I want to just
Mhm.
make it's not a confession. I just want to share something really nerdy. Most people don't know, but there's a bunch of videos on this channel that's just me, like just me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm literally in almost all of them, I'm simply reading my doctoral dissertation. like, like I just put my
It's awesome.
dissertation in video format. So people are being, they're getting the content of a doctoral dissertation on YouTube.
That's amazing. Well, I think that's also a testament to, isn't it also a testament to the accessibility, just that it's well written and able to be read, right? I can't imagine that, well, I haven't read really many dissertations. So like I don't know how they're supposed to read, but that's really awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people.
I
So
love that.
I can't, I write how I write. I mean, I had to write in an academic format and stuff, but I have multiple degrees in communication. Like I wanted my dissertation to be understandable by an average person. So I wrote it like I would speak. So I literally just had a teleprompter reading chunks of my dissertation. And again, sorry, I'm not meaning to just make this about me and my dissertation, but I wrote that thing in less than a year while working full time and having a baby and taking care of an elderly grandfather. And I had zero expectation anyone would read it. I just needed to get it done because I wasn't sleeping. Like the longer school took, the longer my misery would last. I had a young child at the time. And I've never heard of people reading doctoral dissertations. Like I didn't know it was a thing. So all of this has been kind of a surprise, like how well received the dissertation was. And of course, I put it in video format, and that's been well received. It's not like there's tons of subscribers here or anything, but I do get the sense based on people's feedback that it helps them, that it helps them feel less alone and more understood, which has been wonderful. I really did not expect people to read it, but they have. I put it on ResearchGate at the prompting of a friend, and I think it's got like 5,000 reads now, which is surprising. I wanted to touch on
Yeah,
something you said, which is that, you don't like the label. Can we talk about that for a minute? Because I think this would resonate with
sure.
a lot of people.
Let's go there. Yeah.
A lot of polymathic people aren't used to saying, I am this, because there's so many things. It's uncomfortable to attach a label when they're used to defying conventions and labels. And also, if you say, I am a polymath, it's like, well, that's boastful and
Especially
bragging,
if you
especially
wave
if you
your
do
yeah,
your hair like
especially
that.
if you flick your hair and if you have the hair for it. Yeah.
You could
Like
just pretend to.
agreed. Just imagine, yeah, my imaginary locks sure flip. Let me flip.
um, so
Yeah, but I agree. Even that is,
it comes across, people are afraid of being seen as boasting, lying, exaggerating, just being condescending, like just by saying, yeah, I like to learn about lots of things. So the word polymath, you're not alone in that. Many people haven't heard the word. Many people aren't comfortable claiming it as a label, which is why I frequently encourage people, okay, well, what if you just say I'm polymathic? I just like learning about lots of different things. You just make it an adjective. It's not like I am this. What comes
that's
up for you?
actually so. No, I actually, and I should have said this. That is actually what I am. That's what I did today, actually, on that phone call in which I told the friend, defined what the word polymath was to that friend. But I think I did describe myself as polymathic. So that's interesting. I forgot to even say that. I I think I'm probably more tolerant. Literally, since we last spoke, I'm more open to using that word, which is just fun. I guess a funny. I don't know. It's just
I encourage you
natural
to.
evolution of things.
You know,
I mean, it's a catch-all. Like to relay, repeat back what you're saying. Like I totally agree. It is intimidating because, I mean, would it also be intimidating to like to just play devil's advocate to say I'm an architect versus I do architectural things? It's a trend I've actually noticed in. This is interesting. It's something I've noticed in um, with programming. If you frequent a programmer's blog, right, which where they're showing their projects, whatever. GitHub is a place where they'll host their stuff. I don't know if you've heard of that. Often the taglines, like from my perspective, they kind of suck. And the reason I think they suck, sorry everyone, but no, the reason why I think they kind of suck is because it's like I do XYZ. I'm a human and I do XYZ, which maybe it doesn't suck. Maybe I should refine what I'm saying. It is it's imbuing kind of the adjectiving that you are talking about now. It's a distancing, right? I do XYZ. It's not I am,
yes,
right?
I am is powerful. And when you're used to being lots of different things, saying I am one thing is uncomfortable. So turning it into an adjective is like, well, I'm a human being and I'm polymathic. it's less pressure. It's a journey. It's not a destination. Like who gets to say someone is a polymath? For me, I use the word polymath for the eminent creative geniuses from history. I even don't say I am a polymath. I say I'm polymathic. It's a journey. It's like I'm learning and growing and exploring what it means to be a human being, you know? And but this is there's something powerful though. The
Hmm.
reason I like to encourage people to embrace the word in whatever format, noun or adjective they prefer, is I am is powerful. Like it changes the way you think about what you're doing. When you give yourself permission, when you embrace this kind of identity on the spectrum somewhere, it gives you um the mindset to embrace it even more when you realize that's what I'm doing, as opposed to, oh no, I don't want to think about it, I don't want to label, I'm just doing my thing. um and there's a lot of people who live this way and don't have a word for it, and so they don't understand the phenomenon they're experiencing, because once you give it a word, you can learn about it, you can go on YouTube and see what's there, you can Google it, you can read about it, and then you can understand your own experience and reflect back on it and guide your own future intentionally, because you understand, oh, this is how I am, this is how I want to be. It's a choice also. It's not, yes, we're naturally this way. Most people, it is the human way. It's been, our polymathy has been pressured out of us by
Mm.
society, for the sake of efficiency. In the Industrial Revolution, for example, like, oh, pick your swim lane and stick to it for life. Be the cog in the wheel. Get in that cage of specialization. Stick to your silo. Do what you're told. It's when you embrace and understand what it means to be a polymathic person, you can see what's happening more. You can see, oh, there are these patterns where I've been forced to be a thing, to pick a thing, and that is not natural to me. So I'm going to choose this other path. There's power in languaging it and giving it a label. What comes up for you when you hear that about the importance of actually having some awareness of, yes, I am polymathic?
Well, you're actually convincing me right now, I think. Like I'm, which is which is amazing. I mean, I'm just thinking about this differently, and every one of your points, yeah, like I can't. Let me try. So I'm overloading right now. Yeah, I think I agree that to understand a term, to use a term, and to understand what it is, to follow that rabbit hole, learn about it is well, it helped me. I mean, that I engaged with the term, and that's what brought me to you, and that's what brought me to the other, community of people, the Discord channel. I get, I guess I see. Yeah, I think I still struggle with something with the. I don't know what I struggle with, to be honest. It's I don't know. This is good. I'm happy you like prompted this because it I think this touches on kind of a bigger picture about self-identity, which you're
Yeah.
saying, where you have to, like people for various reasons identify or don't identify with certain things. And it's true, like language is extremely powerful. To to say I am this is allowing the world to take whatever assumptions, prejudices, like anti-prejudices, positive or negative, just reactions to that label, and they just react to you. And I think again, like this isn't, I think you can do the identification, but still be mindful of its effect in the world. People do think, I don't know if capitalism is involved, but maybe it is. I'm just kind of throwing that out there. But in terms of hyper specialization and that being a trajectory for making money, and then to tell a person or to announce that I am this, I am, somebody who does the exact opposite, might raise red flags for those people. And so maybe I steer away from that so as to not elicit like a flood of questions, because I don't naturally want to be in the spotlight. Um, I don't have a problem, like conversations like this is, that's fine. But I don't want to brag, that.
Yeah, I get
And I
that.
know it's not bragging. And like, I know it's not bragging. It's obviously not bragging to self-identify. It's just, I think I'm just trying to meet people's expectation of the label where it is. And
Mhm.
I think that's where the adjective comes in. But
Yeah, and it's,
yeah.
polymathy is the word polymath is associated with the great geniuses from history. But the fact of the matter is, the word itself, what it literally means is many learnings. And you don't have to be an eminent genius from history to have many learnings. Like that is a choice, and we can all choose to step into that. So part of why I like people to get comfy with it, at least as an adjective, um, is because once you know and you realize, oh, I am polymathic. I love to learn. I love to explore. I love to not stay caged in specialization professionally. Then
Mm.
you have this awareness and you look for opportunities almost, I think, where you're like, oh, I'm polymathic. Sure. Why not go to Berlin and go have an adventure and learn that culture in 3D? Because you're having a learning journey in Berlin. You've exposed yourself to a new environment, a new culture, new architecture, new cuisines, a new language. I mean, you are steeped in German culture and you get to learn about a new way of being and thinking and living in the world. You're doing polymathy in your own way, I think, without even really realizing it. But once you realize it, once you go, I am
Mhm.
having a polymathic journey and adventure here in Berlin. Ooh, what else can I try? What museum can I go see? Maybe I'll take a weekend trip and go to Amsterdam or London or wherever. Like you, and by the way, this happened for me. Part of why I'm saying this is because this happened for me. When I was 18, I went off to college in a different city, in a big city. I went to the University of Southern California. And it just so happened, fate made it so. I signed up for a seminar, um, and Professor Eric Truls, what this freshman seminar was try new things and report back. That was the whole purpose. Go experience culture. There was a culture vulture competition he made where we had to come every week and list off all the new things we tried. It was a challenge, try new things. And it changed my life. I
Wow.
was 18 on my first semester off at college, and I realized, whoa, life is so cool when you just go explore and try. Not that that made me a polymath, but it was polymathic in nature. And it changed my life. I realized life is so much richer and more enjoyable when you make it an exploration and a journey and an adventure, a learning journey, really. Um,
Yeah, my reaction is like, that's an amazing, you said it was a seminar?
a freshman seminar wasn't even graded. It was just
A
like
seminar.
two credits, met once a week, one semester. I mean, we probably met 12 times. But I knew, oh, I'm going to have to report back. And I'm like, okay, let me go try sushi. Let me go skydiving. Let me go, like, I was like, where can I find something new to try? And it was so stimulating. And we know this
That's
is
so
very good
great.
for brain health, brain plasticity. And it's also just friggin' fun. It's living. That's what living is, going out and
What's
like
inspiring?
experiencing it.
Well, and you're like inspiring me even more. And it's something, it's funny because I think, I don't think I try enough new stuff in terms of like, I'm not the kind of person who's like got something planned every weekend, like when somebody not drags me, but when somebody invites me to the museum or this or that, event, I I think inevitably always find something like interesting. I don't propel myself, I think, enough as I'd like to, which isn't to, judge myself, but just to say a lot of my creativity, and this is something I should have said early on, but a lot of my creativity is actually laptop oriented and like not even laptop oriented, but like just kind of alone. Like I can do, the music, the art, the tech stuff. I'm finishing a typography class. Like you don't have to be with people. That's a great class, but really, oh man, we're now on the part where we have to like start, you know, the rubber hits the road kind of thing, and it's just, okay, it's gonna be hard work. but it's you know, but it's fine. It's what you signed up for, kind of thing. But a lot of the stuff that I do is very inner. Yet,
Mhm.
what you said in your with respect to Berlin and that kind of opening the door, you know, polymathic exploration, like totally, it's cafes are like just the detail in a cafe is enough to like inspire and did inspire me to be like, now I'm going to start learning about, you know, floor plans and like whatever, you know, the next thing comes up and and like trying to organize yourself and like capture all of it is like the exciting it's the exciting part because that's where you can kind of juggle everything. At least for me, I found it helpful to the more organized I am with kind of fitting everything into a cohesive picture, I guess, or a cohesive thing so as to not forget where you last left off on the floor plans or like the typography class. Or it's just a lot of juggling, but you know, it's I welcome it. It's a choice.
You know, one thing I want to mention to you too, since you mentioned that you're introverted, and a lot of people ask me, is polymathy more associated with introverts or extroverts? And this has not been studied, like it's not been properly examined. But I've been interacting with polymathic people for many years now. It's my thing. And I see no obvious trend. I think introverts and extroverts both are polymathic. I mean, it makes sense. Many learning. So it's your introversion or your extroversion doesn't impact your ability to learn broadly. Um, it really is about how you get energized. You get energized on your own, or you get energized in social settings. So it may be for you that your particular flavor of pursuing your own polymathy is more of a solo pursuit, or maybe you go out in the world and you're like around the energy and the inspiration, but you're not. It's more of an internal thing for you, maybe that you're learning more on your own, stimulated by outside information and energy,
It's
maybe.
kind of yeah, well, I think it's both. I mean, I kind of fluctuate. I'm like I think I'm less severe in the case of fluctuating, but I used to be very like alone, get away from me. And then all of a sudden I'm like craving social energy and like thriving
Mm.
on it with again with the right people.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
I we talked about it, right? Like I will be exhausted with a conversation in which I detect inauthenticity. I'm like, I have to leave now. But you know, and I have
yeah.
left, I've just walked away from conversations because it's like, don't need this. It's just I just can't do it because
It's exhausting.
something
Yeah,
it's just exhausting to deal with that. And like again, I don't want to put out anything but love towards people. It's just whatever those things happen to be. And I could be projecting inauthenticity and I have in the past. And obviously that's like a factor too, but you know, you have your bandwidth, limits, boundaries, whatever you want to call them. And yeah, but I think I don't know, Angela. Like I think these days what I'm excited about, and that's probably because I kind of want to be more extroverted. So there's like a subconscious desire. I I do. There are moments where I'm getting feeding off the external world, and you kind of have to, and people too. An exhilarating conversation with somebody is just that's all I need. That's just
yeah. You know,
intellectually honest. It's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really kind of an ambivert. There have been times in my life where I was a student, and just the nature of what I was doing day to day, I was more introverted. And then I've been in jobs which required me to interact in person with a lot of people, and then I would test as an extrovert. Like I think a lot of this introvert extrovert thing, it fluctuates. It's not fixed. It's not forever. I mean, it's depends on your energy that day. Do you desire a social energy, or do you desire internal rest and reflection to energize you and recoup your energy? And that may shift day to day. You touched upon
Yeah.
authenticity, by the way. I want to touch base on the authenticity as sort of our last little topic before we wrap up. So, in order to be an authentic version of yourself, I think it requires some exploration of yourself and the world. How are you supposed to be authentic if you don't have like some sampling and some trying and some trying on for size? You know what I mean? So, and also authenticity is very important to me. For me, polymathy is authenticity. It's saying, no, I'm not going to go in the cage of specialization because you told me to. I'm gonna follow my own truth, my own interests, my own curiosities, even if it's unconventional or in a unique combination that people don't expect of me, you know? So what comes up for you when you think about polymathy as a path to your own authenticity?
Well, to respond to just what you said, I understand. I think what I'm understanding from what you just said is that because your authentic self deep down is the curiosity and the anti-cage and lane moving, it makes sense that there's a you have, this resistance to that and external pressures to kind of put yourself there. I wonder, it's to me, it's I think an open question whether, because maybe, some people have different degrees of curiosity, and so perhaps that's less of a restrictive thing for those people, for those folks. And who knows, like, could it be the case? This is an open question now. Like, could it be the case that people who have less openness to experience, like one of the big five traits, personality, whether it would be more nourishing to them to be kind of even pushed into rigidity, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
The
you
cool
know,
thing about polymathy too is it is an exploration. So your identity, so you may identify as being polymathic, but within that banner, you get so much flexibility and freedom to go be and explore and change and evolve, which is the natural human way. We've been pressured out. We have been dehumanized, in my opinion. The
do you
society
think
around us pressures us to conform, and it removes our freedom and our individuality. And yes, we need to exist respectfully of the culture and the people around us. But at the end of the day, if you let the culture pressure you into conforming and being like everyone else, well, then you're not free at all, are you?
for sure not? And I don't know to what degree the external world is oppressing us in that way. I mean, it clearly is oppressing us in that way. It's just, I think the other factor is just the person's response, or just the person themselves and just their reaction to it, and whether, I don't know, like you're saying that polymathy is the natural human way, and yeah, maybe, I don't know, I've never thought about that. Like maybe I'm underestimating how much, because kids are curious as heck. So
Any
that maybe
learnings?
explored many learnings. Like maybe, yeah, that is the way to disprove what I'm saying. But I guess to respond to what you were saying, your first question, about authenticity, that was a question, right? The reaction, authenticity and polymathy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I mean, for myself at least, it's very clear that if I'm naturally curious about things, regardless of whoever is saying yes or no to those things, or like you should do that, you shouldn't do that, I will, stay on the path. And I have stayed on the path, thankfully,
Mm-hmm.
of honing my curiosities.
Well, I encourage you to keep it up, Adam. It's been a delight to chat with you. I look forward to checking in with you at some point in the future and seeing where you're at on your polymathic journey. And it's been a delight. Thank you so much for caring about the content that I put out in the world. And I wish you well on your polymathic journey.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate just the opportunity to chat.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
You're such a good chatter. All right. Well, you
I
have a
try.
wonderful day.
All right, Angela, thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Cheers.